This is going to be a real quick video on how to use text in your Onshape models. The big thing I would suggest first before you use any text is make sure you're putting it onto something. So make sure that you've built something that you want to put it on. I'm just going to start off with a simple little rectangle. I'm just going to make it 4 by 2, I don't know, whatever. And then we can put our text on that once we've extruded it. You could do this if you're doing some sort of a keychain or a nameplate or whatever it is. Same idea applies. Use your own dimensions. So when we want to put text on something, I'm going to go ahead and just sketch on a face of something that already exists. I like to turn it and face like this. And then you're going to use the text tool. The text tool lets you draw a box that your text is going to fit into. And then you can type in here. You've got options for all sorts of, actually not all sorts of different ones here, but you've got a bunch of different options for fonts. You can just put in your name or whatever you want to make your text. You've got things like bold and italic, and then you've also got the ability to flip it horizontally or vertically depending on what you want to do there. That could be useful depending on what you're doing. Then just hit the checkbox and it'll pop right in there. Now you can see I've made this clearly too big. A few things that you can do, you should be able to resize, apparently not just by clicking and dragging on the corners, but you can add dimensions to these. So you can say, I want this thing to be 4 inches total, or maybe 3.5 if I want it to fit on the box. And then I can move it around however I feel like. Maybe. There it goes. You're also allowed to use dimensions to certain things. So I could add dimensions like from the midpoint to that midpoint and just say, I want those to actually be perfectly lined up. Or I like to use things like these things here, which let you line up using things like the midpoints. But however you want to line that up, get your dimensions where you want it, and then finish your sketch. Now, when you go to extrude it, you can select, basically you're selecting the text like that. There should be a way to do individual letters, but you just have to kind of play around with what you're selecting. You can select lots of different things here. You can emboss, which would just mean like bringing them out of your part, something like that. Don't go crazy. Don't bring them out super far. But you can also cut them in, like engrave them. That works too. There you go. You can kind of see how that works. Those are really your two main options, either to bring them out from the part or to cut them into the part. A couple of things, if you're considering 3D printing these, make sure that the letters, like how tall they are. If you kind of look at my height here, my letters are almost 1 inch tall. You don't want to go much smaller than like, 1/4 of an inch would probably be fine still if you're 3D printing, but much smaller than that, and you're going to end up with letters not really printing out right at all. So keep them fairly big. You've got two options, either extruding them out, which is called an emboss, or pushing them in, which would be called an engrave. So there you go.